I feel like I am the MVP. Um, I mean, it's that simple. Just I don't want to talk. I don't want to be, speaking division on myself. But I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Okay, I'm not going to start with my idol right now. I'm going to start with the voice of LA. Max, do KD and Kyrie need Harden to win the title?
Yep, to win the title, yes. Not to get out of the East. I mean, to win the title, yes. And I understand how James Harden feels. He's played the best basketball in the world this year. He just missed those games early with the Nets, but he has been amazing. And don't take for granted that this was going to work. There's one basketball. Harden and Kyrie had to figure that out. And listen, they go from, hey, can Kyrie and KD get past the Sixers if Embiid is healthy, right? The Bucks, you may say yes, but that's not a slam dunk, so to speak, let alone beating LeBron and AD in the finals. No, that ain't going to happen. Maybe they could get out of the East, maybe. They ain't beating LeBron and AD in the finals. But you add James Harden, I don't think they can be stopped if those three guys are playing. And it is a credit to James Harden and Kyrie Irving. I mean, KD, we already know, can fit into any team that ever lived. He's only going to be additive because he's so great in so many ways. But two ball-dominant backcourt players like Harden and Kyrie, for them to figure it out this quickly, my hat is off to them. The answer is they did need James Harden to win a title, and I believe with him, they will.
Well, first of all, I don't believe Kyrie and James Harden can win a title without KD. But I think that KD can win a title without one of the two. Not both, but one of the two. One of the two. I think he can win a title.
Either?
I think he can win a title with either of them. I think KD with Kyrie can win a title. I think KD with James Harden can win a title. I don't think that Kyrie with James Harden can win the title. That's where I'm at with it, number one. Number two, to answer the question directly, James Harden is right. At this particular moment in time, James Harden is the league MVP in my mind, with Damian Lillard right on his heels. Number three, having said all of that, I reserve the right to change my mind because, after all, if Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge and, everybody else comes back healthy and they get involved in the mix, how much do you have to do if you're James Harden? And so, as I'm concerned, the presence of all of those people could
You're going to hold his teammates against him?
Excuse me. I do have a vote. MVP voters, we take everything into consideration, and I will take everything into consideration. I know how great James Harden is. I voted for him years ago when he won the MVP award. He deserved it, okay? He was a top two.
You're holding it against him that Blake and LaMarcus Aldridge would be on the team?
No, I'm not saying that.
They're not what they used to be.
What I'm saying to you is that when you stack the deck and then the level of competition appears to have dissipated dramatically because nobody can hang with y'all, then I'm going to take that.
You just admitted earlier in the show.
I'm going to take that into consideration.
That's more of a negative for Blake and LaMarcus Aldridge than the Nets because they're name brands, but they're not the same players anymore.
We're not talking about the Nets. We're talking about how an individual and an individual award looks. And I'll go back to your argument about Damian Lillard. If I'm looking at Damian Lillard, who played a chunk of time without C.J. McCullough, played a chunk of time without Nurkic, okay? Let's suppose, for example, that those two or somebody else or significant players goes down again, but Damian Lillard still looks like Damian Lillard. But Brooklyn is cakewalking through the rest of the season. Then I'm sorry.
That ain't going to be because Blake and LaMarcus. It's going to be because of KD.
Fine. What I'm saying to you is you throw everybody in the mix. I'm simply saying when you dramatically shift competitive balance, okay, that ultimately can end up, I'm not saying it will, but it can ultimately end up counting against you when the person on your heels is carrying the load and doing his thing too. You can't ignore that. Remember when we gave it to Russell Westbrook when he averaged a triple-double immediately upon the departure of Kevin Durant? They were like a fourth or sixth seed, if I remember correctly, but we couldn't deny what we were seeing from Russell Westbrook and what he was working with. We can't ignore that.
I don't vote on the MVP. If I did at this moment, I give it to Damian Lillard. For what you just said. This is the argument I made the other day. He carried that team in the Western Conference without C.J. McCollum or Nurkic just before the Powell trade, right? So I think he has a hair little lead over not just James Harden, but also Jokic, who's had an amazing season. I'll say this. James Harden's right, though. He's been the best player in basketball this year. He just hasn't been with the Nets the entire time. But if you have to, for the first time in his career, even when he was winning MVPs and putting up 35 points a night, for the first time in his career, when my eyes are on him, I said this like a month ago, I say it today, he's the best player in the game. When my eyes are on him, that's the feeling I get.
Listen.
He's been amazing.
I don't knock that. Damian Lillard is number 2 on my list right now to James Harden. He could end up winning it, no question about it. I'm not going to dismiss that the way that he's been balling, but I will give James Harden this warning on national television. Don't get into cruise control. In other words, because everybody is around you and how awesome you guys are going to be, obviously, that might require him to step back because I don't need to do but so much because we're getting ourselves ready for the playoffs. Well, remember, the MVP is a regular season award. And so if Damian Lillard is pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing the pedal to the metal and carrying that franchise, but James Harden takes a step back because of the multitude of bodies that have arrived in Brooklyn, I'm saying it might cost him the league MVP. Now, I'm not advising him to do anything one way or the other because obviously an individual award is far less important than winning a championship because that's what James Harden should and probably and more definitely
Bingo.
is more than anything else. And I get it. But understand that when you talk about a league MVP, you carry Houston. You don't have to carry Brooklyn like that.
The pressure for James Harden this year won't be in the regular season.
It's the title.
He cannot screw up in the playoffs. Not on this team, not the way he's playing right now. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.